Hey everybody, Greg Barron, Professor of Real Estate. Thanks for joining me today on my YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about the perils and protections of real estate partnerships. If you want to know a little bit more and get this chapter, be sure and check on the link below. We're giving away this chapter to our book in the Complete Guide to Commercial Real Estate Investing coming out very soon. So I happen to have a lot of experience in this. Some is good and some is bad. Some is really good and some is really bad. I'm going to share you some of the points. After 40 years of being in the business, I've lost count on how many partnerships I've had, both as a limited partner, as a general partner. We've got 5 operating companies with multiple partners. So there's a lot of experience, and some of it I want to bring to the table to you today. Some of the pros and cons. First off, let's start off with some of the common problems in real estate partnerships. First thing I would say is you have mismatched goals and expectations. You can't get into somebody's head 100%. So it's very important that you clearly outline what your expectations are, what your visions are, and what your goals are for the partnership. It's very similar to a marriage. It starts off in the honeymoon phase, and some get infinitely better and some get infinitely worse. Usually it has to do with communication, expectations, and goals, and communicating clearly all along the way, but starting out that way. I'll give you an example. One person in a real estate partnership may want the income from cash flow and is okay with taking capital gains tax on that so he can roll up into something else. Another one may want to have infinite returns, meaning he might want to continue to do 1031 exchanges. He doesn't need the income every year because he's already established. So he or she needs to sit down with their partners and clearly say, what is it and what do you expect? Let's forecast 3 to 5 years out to the best of our abilities. That's the number one problem. A very close second cousin is financial disputes. Usually this comes along after the project is moving along. A lot of the time it has to do with the expenses. Who's controlling them? Who's using them? So again, the disciplined approach to settling those financial disputes right up front. How much capital are you going to keep in it? If all of a sudden you do have a windfall, are you going to reinvest those funds in additional projects, or are you going to take the cash as income and move forward? So financial disagreements continually are discussed. And just like with any marriage, there are going to be disagreements with finances many, many times. The key is to outline as many of those, discuss them, and have that, again, that forward-looking vision to how you're going to solve them and communicate freely. The third thing I would say which causes problems in real estate partnerships is always unequal workloads. And this speaks to the fact of, is the partner pulling his weight versus what the other partner's doing. I see this a lot. I hear this a lot in some of the partnerships that I've been involved with. Typically, most of mine, I have a majority interest, so I have that control. But there are a lot of cases where people go in and they think they're fully aligned, only to find out that somebody likes to play golf a lot more than the other one does. So those are the things you need to work out in equal distribution of workload. So how would you go about choosing the right partner? Well, I would say there's equally as many points there too that I could share with you. Number one is shared vision and values. And let me give you an example there based upon some of the prior videos I've done on focusing in specific asset classes. One of the partners may want to explore multifamily, industrial, special purpose, a myriad of developments, and the other one might want to be laser focused within one asset class. Those shared vision and values just in that one particular arena are very important of choosing a right partner. Many times it'll come unwound if one wants to go one direction because he's got a more creative bent that the other one does, and maybe he wants to go into a adaptive reuse, which has got a lot of hair on it, quite frankly, and the other one says, no, I just want to stay focused on one specific Class B plus multifamily. So choosing the right partner, you need to flesh out those things right up front. The second thing to look at is if you have complementary skills and backgrounds. One person might be very heavy in finance and accounting, and the other person might be very heavy in property management and construction. Those two things complement each other along with the amount of experience they have in each. You know, it's kind of like a marriage where both of you are type A in a marriage and you're constantly butting heads and you're both just very driven. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. The same thing might apply to real estate partnerships. Look for potential partners that would complement your skills, that where you just hate the finance part of it, you really stink at financial evaluation, but you're really good at boots on the ground property management and value-added construction. That would be what I call a complementary skill and experience partnership. The other thing that I would say, it's probably you need to flesh out pretty quickly before you ever go into it, is that partner's legal and financial experience and background. And let me give you a story based upon that. I'm very particular of the partners that I go into business with, and I always do background checks. I won't get into pure specifics of what happened, but I will tell you that I did background checks on a certain partnership that we were getting ready to tie a bow on, a fairly large development, only to find out that two of the partners had a significant breach in their financial obligations in the past. Not just something that they were forced into, but something that they chose because it was the easy way out. The other thing is I did some background only to find out that they had some legal issues that were still pending. I would suggest to you that you always do a deep dive as much as you can on the legal and financial backgrounds of any partnership that you go into. Find out as much as you can and talk through it, because you don't want to have that baggage carry forward to you when you have the opportunity really to wipe that slate clean and move on if you can in the future. So the last thing I want to speak to is avoiding pitfalls in partnerships. We could speak to a lot more things that you need, but here are a few things that over the years I think that you need. Number one, without saying, is a detailed partnership agreement. I've always said, as more detailed as it is, the more you need to talk through those things, the better friendships we can have in the future. I really want to have an established, detailed agreement so that we can go about the business and put that on the shelf, but flesh that all out. I would never enter a partnership with just a 2-page, well, we trust each other, let's move forward. We don't need an attorney, we don't need an accountant to look at it. I'm just the opposite, actually. After many, many partnerships, I want to drill down as much as I can, even talk about difficult things prior to entering that agreement, which binds me to that person. It might be binding to bank covenants. It might be binding me to legal issues. It might be binding me for 5 to 7 years. So it's infinitely important that you have a detailed partnership agreement. The second thing I would say is have a defined exit strategy, or at least talk about what you're going to do. Is this a project specific, or is this a company that you're building? Have that exit strategy in mind. Talk about exit requirements with your partner. Talk about exit expectation. One example might be, what do you do if one partner wants to leave and dispose and the other one doesn't? You have to have a rock solid buy-sell agreement early on to determine how that's going to play out. And the last thing I would say about this is have ready a good legal and financial advisor. Always tee up your partnerships, not with a family attorney, but somebody that specializes in real estate law, especially if it gets complicated. Not taking anything away from any attorney, but what I've learned is over the years, I have specialized attorneys and legal counsel for specialized situations. I don't want them to learn on my dime. I want them to have experienced things over and over in the years, and it's almost subconsciously they make decisions and guides me with good counsel. The same goes for CPAs. I want somebody who's specialized in the market that I'm in. There are a lot of qualified accountants out there. There are fewer qualified CPAs that can guide me on specific tax advantages. One example is if I like to use cost segregation and my CPA has never used it, I want somebody who understands how I can apply that to my portfolio of real estate. You need to go and find you the best team from the very beginning and be specific. Those are just a few of the things that I would say are the pitfalls and protections of partnerships in real estate. I hope that helps you today. If you did enjoy it, be sure and like and subscribe. And as always, send me questions. I'll be glad to answer them. We'll try to put a link to a blog based upon good partnership agreements below. Educate, evaluate, so you can ultimately execute to increase your own personal wealth. We'll see you soon.